years ago did you actually do this? This is unbelievable. He walked the PCT. I guess you could explain that. That's amazing what you did.
Sure. Just to give you a quick background, when I was in college as a freshman, I grew up in California and dearly loved backpacking. And it was kind of the first boom of the backpacking era, I think, in the 60s and 70s. And my roommate and I were, headed off to a store, found a brochure about this thing, newly completed Pacific Crest Trail. So it runs from Mexico to Canada, 2,650 miles. And of course, in our exuberance, getting back to our dorm, looking at a map and photos, no internet then. We, we were just pumped up and excited and thinking, we could do this. We've got all summer. But the reality of paying the bills and working so I could go to school, that sets in and life happens. And it's sat on the shelf or in a manila folder in my cabinet for 40 years. And when I was able to retire early, I headed out to begin this trek. And it was quite an epic journey. I did a lot of preparation, but there are things that were going on in my life as a professional. I had really achieved, the height of all my professional goals, and I also, because of the stress involved, there were themes of me using alcohol to sedate my stress level, and always doing that quietly. And so part of the healing was entering a program of recovery through AA, but also this trip and spending time, a lot of time alone with God, but also with other people. And it made a huge difference. Lots of lessons learned along the way. And I share that in the book, hoping that through understanding, my own disillusionment, discouragement, the challenges, the highs and lows, the dangers, all of the things that came with this trip, somehow hoping that will help other people overcome self-doubt, fear, to achieve their dreams. And that's really the hope in writing the book.
Right. It's amazing that number one, that you did this by yourself. But you had put it on the shelf and you brought it back down again. You dusted it off. Is that the idea? And you made the plan. I think that is really important, that you have to have a plan. Some people just try to wing things, and in that you're going to be more likely to finish it if you have. I mean, it's not going to be perfect plan, but you have to lay it out. And I think it's amazing. My understanding is it was 4,800 miles. That is,
Well,
yeah.
Well, that figure is talking about. I said I was trying to lay that out, talking about through my life
Oh, I
experience.
gotcha. All right. I
But
thought I was like, holy cow.
there's other trips involved with that big mile, that was supposed to impress people with, wow, he really walked that far. But
that's a lot.
that involves the Colorado Trail, a lot of family trips and other ventures in Grand Canyon, all through the Smoky Mountains and a lot of other places. So
Yeah, I love mountains too, or hiking. And I've met people who prefer the beach, and I actually prefer looking at the mountains I guess because you're looking up. Maybe that's
yeah,
what it is.
yeah. And once you get there, it's really just an inspirational perspective.
Yeah, it is. It's very inspiring, and it's just calming. I mean, even though it's hard work, it still calms you down a little bit. At least for
Mm.
me, it did. And I'm just curious that I'm sure, I know you're working and raising kids and all that. Did you squeeze in hiking with your children at all, I'm assuming?
Yes, we had three boys. So a big factor that attracted me to my wife was, she's a beautiful lady, inside and out, but also she was an avid hiker and backpacker. And I thought that sealed the deal right there, because it's
Yeah.
not a lot of ladies, when they understand what's involved with heading out into the woods for a week at a time, are that willing to want to participate. So anyway, we had a lot of trips together as a couple, and then our boys were just raised. Probably half of our vacations were going to places like the Wind River Range in Wyoming, doing the Yosemite and Sequoia, and the national parks were big on our list.
That's
Kings
beautiful.
Canyon. So we had that both as a priority, and our boys just grew up not knowing any different. That's
I think it's good that you prioritize that those experiences with them rather than buying them stuff. That's just my perspective.
right. I always shared that our boys never made it to Disney World, but we made it to a lot of other awesome places,
Oh yeah.
and so they continue today. One of my sons especially is more adventurous than even I, and he's the one that's always calling up and saying, "Dad, let's go here." And of course, you have to say yes.
You can't turn that opportunity down, right?
Right. So it's been a joy to share that. It's been a lifelong passion. It wasn't something I woke up and just decided to do. It
Right.
was a dream for a long time, and so you kind of wonder, do I still have what it takes? One of my jokes in discussing that, I was out with a friend walking a trail, and I was describing my old Toyota vehicle, and I said, the engine's still strong, but the chassis got a few squeaks in it. And I said, if there's anything that described this journey and my own efforts, it was really that idea that, yeah, some of the joints and tendons and other things, they squeak a little every now and then, but the heart's still strong, the engine's still
That's
going.
good. That's the important thing is the engine, right? It gets you
Right.
you can always tweak and adjust along the way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
one thing when I got to read his book, guys, you mentioned or you met a lot of people along the way, people that you didn't know beforehand. You had so much, I guess, in common unknowingly, right? You had like
Yeah.
themes that you
The-
can connect on.
yeah. That it was such a rich experience in that way. And I don't think I anticipated all of that. Even though I said I went out alone, uh, after the first 340 miles or so, I began to sync up with different groups at different times. And began to have some time together. And it was interesting because it's challenging in terms of some of the triggers for alcoholism. Uh, we use HALT. Am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? Well, at least three of those. I was never angry on the trail, but I was hungry, I was lonely, and I was really tired a lot, averaging 20-mile days. But finding the group that you could sync up with, it was interesting as we shared our lives. Uh, People use trail names. That's the first question when you greet somebody is, what's your trail name? And I think one of the aspects of having a trail name, mine is Perigee, which I can explain later. I think there's a sense of anonymity there that you don't know who you are, and you don't necessarily have to reveal where you're from. So in the midst of that, I think it was amazing to find there were several times that we had instances of meeting other people that were actually in a program of recovery. Finding other people that may have similar, faith or beliefs or not, and just it's very enriching. I love the quote from Eat, Pray, Love about the physics of the quest. You learn a lot through the people you meet, and you learn a lot about yourself. Some of the things that you need to leave behind, right? It's too heavy to carry on this journey.
Right. And what it is, you're just making these beautiful connections that you probably didn't realize you needed. And it's a support on a trail that people you didn't know. And I think that's beautiful.